About a month after my 17th birthday, I bought this quarter-acre property out in the boonies with the goal of building an off-grid cabin where I can go relax and take fishing trips out of, just like my ancestors did. Also, just like my ancestors, I'm very broke. So every aspect of this project is fully funded by me and coming out of my own pocket. There's no family money, there's no sponsorships, just me, some hand tools, and my bootstraps. To make things even more difficult, I don't even own a truck, so I'll be transporting all the materials and everything I need for this cabin using my SUV. Come follow along on my journey of making mistakes, learning new things, and hopefully ending up with an awesome off-grid cabin in the end. Before I started on the cabin though, I built an outhouse to make my life a little bit more comfortable on this property and to hone in on some of my construction skills, given I had very minimal building experience. I made videos about building the outhouse and buying this property, which are on my channel if y'all are interested. Now finally onto the cabin. The previous owner who I bought the property off of started to make a base for his cabin that he had planned out, but he told me when I was buying it that he was way over his head. This guy was a middle-aged plumber, and what he left for me was pretty brutal, to be honest. So I guess the jokes about plumbers have to be rooted in some truth, because this thing was not put together well at all. The 2x6 lumber he used was all good, but he used deck screws to put it together, which obviously is a red flag. But I reinforced it with a bunch more nails and a bunch more wood. I knew the 2x6s were going to be plenty strong enough to support my cabin, given it's only going to be one story. When it was sturdy enough for my liking, then I brought in the OSB plywood and laid that over top. Once that was secure and I had a solid foundation, I put a layer of house wrap over the top to make sure there was no moisture getting in contact with that wood. With the solid foundation down, now it's time to start framing up the walls. The 2x4s I used to frame the cabin and the metal roofing were actually the single most expensive parts of this cabin build. I bought all that stuff from the hardware store and spent a pretty penny to make sure all the important parts of this cabin were good quality and would last for a while. At some point, the local project manager came by to supervise all the work that I was doing. In the process of framing the walls, I also bought windows and doors for the cabin off of Facebook Marketplace for much cheaper than they would be new. That way I had the exact measurements for all of the window and door openings ahead of time. And since I don't have a lot of manpower working on this project, I built all the framing for the walls in sections. Also, since I was transporting all the lumber in my SUV, there's no way I was going to get any lumber close to the 24 feet, which is the longest wall of the cabin. Since the cabin dimensions were going to be 16 feet by 24 feet, I just opted to make 8-foot sections. Then, where each section meets up, all I need to do is butt the 2x4s up next to each other and hammer them together. It's not as strong, but then it's effectively a 4x4 post. Since this is an off-grid cabin, and I'm hammering all the nails in by hand, I used some pretty decent sized nails to make sure everything was super strong. I use the same nails to secure the bottom plate of the framing into those 2x6s that are my floor joists. Now I'm not too juiced or anything, but from all the hammering, I ended up snapping one of my hammers in half, which cut my day short because then I had to run out to the store and buy a new one. After a long day of work, it's time for some grub. So I used my Eagle Scout skills and whipped up a fire in this fire pit that I got for free off of Facebook Marketplace. Right now, I'm keeping it simple and eating just canned food. It's no Outdoor Boys bread and honey butter, but it'll give me some calories to build this cabin. Once I get a roof over my head, I'm definitely gonna have to level up my food selection. Framing the roof is where the first issues really started to arise. Given it was just me and the framing was already all nailed together, unsurprisingly, it was pretty difficult to actually raise the roof, if you know what I mean. Luckily, my neighbor in the green and white cabin next door was in town for the weekend and was able to help me lift all that lumber up onto the roof. Shout out to David, you're a real one, and he mows my grass quite a bit. Anyways, once I started getting some sheathing up on the walls, there was barely any lateral stability. So in the true spirit of this project, I turned my SUV into a truck or a tractor depending on how you want to look at it. I ended up pulling all of the framing back into place with just a rope and kept keeping on with the sheathing. I found a lot of the sheathing on Facebook Marketplace and various other sources, where it was all either free or much cheaper than it would have been new. The quality isn't necessarily as good as it would be if it was new, but for my purposes, it's going to work just as well. And I'm going to be putting siding on over the top of it anyways in the future. Plus, let's be honest, structurally this is probably as good or better than a lot of your houses. Except for all of my people watching outside of America. Y'all have me beat by a long shot. But as the saying goes, it looks good from my house. Anyways, continuing with the sheathing, I kept puzzle piecing the mix of OSB and plywood to give my walls a little bit more structure. When I got to the point where the big bad wolf wouldn't be able to blow this place over anymore, I tried to seal everything up from the elements with some house wrap similar to what I did with the base, joining the edges of the house wrap together using some Tyvek tape. Although for the roof, I used tar paper instead of house wrap. Then I put all the sheet metal roofing that I got from Menards over that tar paper and secured it with some special screws right into the framing of the roof. These screws are special because they have a rubber washer actually around it, so when they're tightened down, no water can get past them. And just to be safe, I ran a bead of caulk in between each of the roof panels. To prepare for the windows and doors, I started by making cuts in the house wrap where the openings were. Then I folded the house wrap over the studs and tried to seal it all in with this flashing tape. Now, I'm probably just incompetent, but I would not recommend this stuff. Considering it's made of tar, it was barely sticking to anything. And as you can see, after being in the elements for not too long, the surface of it got absolutely tattered. Realistically, I probably could have just slapped some duct tape on it and it would have worked just as well. But I made it work, and now we're ready to put the windows and the doors in place. With a roof over my head and a throne where I can drop a deuce, my life on this property is starting to look a lot more luxurious. Although this place still looks worse than a Vaco. The next step is to put the windows and the doors in, and seal the cabin up to make sure it's all weatherproofed, to keep the moisture out, and more importantly, keep all the critters out too. So far there's been a lot of struggles, but I'm happy where we are at this point. Thankfully, the building restrictions in this area are super relaxed, which is probably the most important thing for me, especially with this experimental project. But I am happy to say that it's not the worst looking place in the area either. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you, so I'm going to give you a sneak peek as to what you can expect from the next video. I got windows, doors, and more coming up, so be sure to subscribe. Leave a like if you like this video, and of course, comment your suggestions for things I can do on this property, with this cabin, or just your favorite part of this journey so far. I read through all of them and I'll try to respond to as many as I can. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next video where I keep building onto this off-grid cabin.